Thank you to Honkai Star Rail for sponsoring today's video. So I had two options. Make a video reflecting on my year of playing and covering Star Rail, meh, or make a video finally going over all of the playstyles in this game. Well, I just realized, after the release of Robin, every single playstyle is now complete. Regardless, for every single player, veteran or newbie, this will be beneficial and allow you to figure out what your personal preferred playstyle may actually be. Without further ado, let's hop into the video. So Honkai Star Rail has currently 4 playstyles at the time of recording, and 1 additional playstyle that is still in the making. This playstyle is going to be a lot more streamlined once a character like Boohill does release, but then we'll have future break characters that also fuel this playstyle. But I'm going to have a separate entire video on break effect and break characters in general, so look forward to that in the coming future. But we're going to talk about all of the 4 playstyles that are currently in the game, and then talk about the break playstyle at the very end. So let's start with the most recent playstyle, being the follow-up attack playstyle. This team features a bunch of characters that are centered around the Elation-like playstyle, and all these characters have some way, shape, or form a key role in the follow-up attack team. First of all, this team is centered around Topaz's action forward boosting of Numby whenever anyone or herself has a follow-up attack onto the enemy that has the proof of depth debuff. Dr. Ratio is the other damage dealer that you can slot to the team, but with future DPS, there is a possibility that you can replace Dr. Ratio with another follow-up attacker. I'm thinking a character like Jade in the future, depending on how she ends up being at the end of the current beta phase and once she makes it to the live servers of the game. And then for the defensive option, you have Aventurine, who is going to not only keep the team relatively healthy, but provide a nice buff for your allies to dish out more damage on the enemy that has the debuff he places onto them, increasing the crit damage that is received by that enemy from the total attack of your damage dealers. And Aventurine has nice damage himself if you do choose to build him in the DPS route. Compared to other defensive options, it is a lot easier to build him as a sub DPS or team damage booster. And then with Robin being the final character to make this team finally complete, she constantly pushes up the action forward of the team, giving not only more turns, but more energy to the team. And furthermore, she gives very nice attack, crit damage, and even damage boosts to the team. And if you have some of those premium options on the character, she's giving even more value with maybe resistance penetration, or even other things like further damage boosts and her own personal damage, which building her as a sub DPS alongside Aventurine and Topaz makes her deal tons of damage. Because every time you deal damage to the enemy with a follow-up attack, she does her own personal damage, much like Ruan-Mei, but is consistently putting out damage compared to Ruan-Mei. You can use Robin in another team with other characters that function in hypercarry-like teams, because the hypercarry is centered around 2 Harmony characters buffing up 1 damage dealer. So even if you do choose the role for Robin because you want to achieve the follow-up attack playstyle sometime in the future, just know that you can use her outside of the team and she's still going to have immense value, especially if your character really appreciates the attack and damage buff she provides. Speaking of hypercarry, Bronya still remains one of the queens of hypercarry, or I guess in my latest video, the former queen of hypercarry, but she still has immense value for some characters in the game that makes her better than Sparkle in those teams. She becomes the main grade and Sparkle becomes the side grade. And one of those characters is actually Jinglu. And the reason being is because you give this character a ton of damage boost, and you give her in full turn in combination with Bronya. Depending on how fast or the speed you have on your Jinglu, you're able to keep Jinglu in her enhanced state, which allows her to have 100% uptime on her DPS. But this is what the hypercarry team comp basically consists of. It's just having 2 Harmony characters in the team party. A character like Ting Yun functions really well alongside Bronya to boost up and give the best buffs to your damage dealer possible. And then you just have a defensive option that is either skill point positive or skill point neutral. Luocha being the best of both worlds, because not only is he a very solid defensive option with a very nice emergency heal and a cleanse, but he also gives a skill point every single turn. In a team with Bronya, your damage dealer will never be CC'd, because you have 2 cleansers in the team party. Well, this really is just one way of playing the team comp, and you don't have to necessarily have 2 Harmony characters in the team party. This team is just exclusively centered around giving the damage dealer or the soul damage dealer as much damage as possible by either putting debuffs onto the enemy to increase the overall damage of the damage dealer, or providing buffs to the damage dealer for them to boost their own total DPS on those enemies. And there is other characters that function best in hypercarry, such as Denhang and Bibitil Nai. So much like Jinglu, this character is going to want to be in a team with exclusively Harmony characters, because that's where most of the value for this character's damage comes from. Having characters that essentially fix the issues in this character's kit, maybe that being skill points, maybe that being turns, because he does want to be very slow, and maybe giving him damage buffs to further boost his damage and allow him to clear quickly, because at a certain point, you will eventually run out of skill points on this character. And the crazy thing about hypercarry is that you don't even need a defensive option depending on the type of player you are and how risky you prefer your hypercarry playstyle to be. You can have 3 Harmony characters essentially giving even further buffs to a character like Jinglu, and I've used the team personally, and I've hit astronomically high numbers. And if you play Jinglu with a character like Seal, who also functions extremely well in this same team comp, you're going to have a very unstoppable team. And this team right here is absolutely cracked out of its mind. I was very shocked at how well this team performs, despite not having a safety net. Now, as for my personal favorite team comp in the game, Mono Quantum, this is a team comp that is most likely going to be the most niche team comp or playstyle to build your account around, because this playstyle is exclusively centered around just using Quantum characters and having Silverwolf in the team party. If you have Silverwolf, then this team comes to fruition. If you don't have Silverwolf, then you are dependent on the enemy having Quantum weakness. So this team is extremely niche, and you're not going to be getting very many characters in the future. Only characters that are of the Quantum element and characters that are essentially better than the damage dealer you already have. One of those characters being Jade, that has the potential to make this team a lot better. But just understand that the game does give you free options. QQ is still a very solid, strong AoE damage dealer of the Quantum element. So you don't necessarily need Jade as much as you think. And this is the same with any other future character. Seal is still an amazing damage dealer to use in this team party. And the cool thing about Seal is that with the upcoming game mode that is going to be centered around hunt characters, she's going to see a nice resurgence, see what I did there, in the team party with Silverwolf when it comes to tackling that content. Because while this team is still centered around the single target damage that Seal puts out, and the single target debuffs that Silverwolf also puts out onto the enemy. And let's say you don't have Sparkle, because she's a character that you may have missed around the time I recorded my video. Well, just understand that you can still use other characters of different elements, right? As long as the enemy is already weak to said element that you are bringing additionally to Quantum. So if the enemy is weak to Wind on top of not having Quantum weakness, then having this team party with Bronya in it is still going to work. And this can be said with any other character of any different element. For instance, I've been really enjoying using Robin in the team party because Robin gives very nice buffs to everyone in the team party. And Mono Quantum is centered around everybody providing to the team damage, not just your sole damage dealer. Although your sole damage dealer is going to be contributing the most in the team damage, don't get me wrong. And even if you don't have Robin, May was one of the Harmony characters that essentially did change the trajectory of Harmony characters to go into the future. So if you have her on your account, she is still a very nice universal buffer to bring literally anywhere. So having her in the Mono Quantum team, even if the enemies are not weak to ice, still is beneficial because she gives your team resistance penetration, which makes her universally viable anywhere you go into the game. Last but not least, the dot playstyle. This playstyle has been very shockingly, no pun intended, strong upon its release of Black Swan. Once she did release, this team has been blowing every single other team comp metrics out of the park because this team is so good no matter where you go. And part of the reason is because of the fin shred that Black Swan provides on top of the personal damage, but also May giving that resistance penetration, which makes your dots and your damage, right, your multiplier abilities, deal tons of damage to the enemy regardless of the weakness that the enemy is weak to, or element that the enemy is weak to rather. Now the dot characters take full advantage of May's kit, and the reason being is because these are characters that want break effect too at some point. Because let's say you are fighting enemies that have the elemental weaknesses that you are bringing to the table, such as wind and lightning. Then having that break effect means you'll deal even more damage once you break the toughness of the enemy, and you'll allow May to deal her additional damage on top of your own personal break damage, essentially dealing a ton of damage before the enemy even takes their turn to proc the dot damage. So essentially what you have is this ecosystem of characters working alongside each other to provide team damage. So this is the only team comp in the game that I can say that has pretty much founded the team damage eccentric playstyle, which means everybody in the team party is contributing towards that general number you'll be seeing in the top right corner. So I think this team is pretty much the best team you can go with when it comes to being a new player. Not only is it very easy to build, right, because every character here doesn't even need crit stats, but also every character here is viable no matter where you go. AoE, single target, and even pure fiction. This is the most well-rounded, most versatile, and one of the strongest, if not strongest, team comp we have available in the game. Now, there is something to take into consideration that can make a lot of sense. What if at some point we were to receive a replacement of Kafka? So with that being said, maybe we have a 6-star version of Kafka, if you catch my drift. Would this character then become less relevant and instead you would just wait for that character to release? Yeah, sure. But you can also take into consideration that much like the hypercarry team, you don't even need a defensive option at times. So you can replace your defensive option and have 2 Kafkas in a team party, right? Since Raw May is already giving speed to the team, well, as long as you have decent speed on your characters, you'll be able to proc dots on 2 characters, Black Swan also contributing towards the dot for the team. You just have to make sure you don't run out of skill points. But that is far later down the line, and we don't even know if this is even going to come to fruition. Kafka still could be the dot-eccentric enabler for years to come. As for the break team, this team is still a work in progress. The latest character we have received to go towards making this team essentially have its place in the meta is going to be the Harmony Trailblazer. But we have yet to receive a proper damage dealer for the team comp. Boot Hill seems like the closest character of that criteria, but we really are waiting for a more versatile and pretty much break effect eccentric character that is going to be good no matter where you bring said character. People believe that that character is going to be Firefly, Sam. But we have no way of telling for sure, of course, without, treading the league territories. But just understand that this is a team that you can build towards. And if you already have Ruame on your account, you pretty much just need the damage dealer that is going to come into the future. Because Harmony Trailblazer is for free, you just have to complete the story that takes forever. And once you complete the story, you have essentially the 2 Harmony characters you need in Team Party anyways. And all you need is a defensive option like Gallagher, who is able to give you tons of healing upon breaking the enemy's toughness, and also provide towards the team damage too, taking advantage of the buffs that Ruame provides to him and everyone else in the team party, the break effect efficiency. And heck, even this team is functionable right now. XY is a very solid break character and pretty much a character you can receive for free depending on the patch that you joined Honkai Star Rail. But again, I do have a video in the upcoming days going over the whole playstyle and its history, so look forward to that. So with that being said, definitely let me know in the comment section down below, what is your playstyle in Honkai Star Rail? I've actually never asked this question before, so I am curious to see what the answer will be. My favorite team comp, as I said before, is the Mono Quantum, but if I had to choose a second team comp, honestly, I've been using Dot a little less than I used to use Dot, damage over time, but I guess I am currently looking for another playstyle to main, quote-unquote. The closest has been the follow-up attack playstyle, but since I do just make videos, it's pretty much just whatever I end up using at the time for that video. Maybe the break effect team is going to change everything, because I do enjoy Firefly Sam as a character, so maybe, oh, I just spoiled everything, didn't I? So thanks again to Honkai Star for sponsoring today's video. Thank you for watching, and have a nice rest of your day. Peace.